Hi everyone, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, I think we're in for a bit of a shorter show than normal because we've only got 3 games essentially to talk about this weekend. We've got the Currie Cup final, the Bulls against the Sharks, and then we've got the 2 Rugby Championship matches taking place in Australia. That, of course, featuring New Zealand against Argentina and the big one, South Africa against Australia. And we're going to have 2 guests to talk about those, but only one to welcome at the moment because our second guest, Couch Critic, is just finishing off his rugby show, Die Los Gamal, on the, well, I think it's on the Yellow Caps YouTube channel there. But let's welcome Hendrik Swart. Hendrik, you're grinning broadly like a man who called all 3 of the big games last weekend, the 2 semi-finals and the Rugby Championship match.
Yeah, Brent, that last one, me and you, we spoke about the Australia game just before the show. And that, we both probably aged about 5 years in that game. It was so stressful, and I still can't believe that we won on that game, and Australia came through on the handicap. It's tough watching Australia games if you have money on them. They make it so tough for themselves. But yeah, the Griquas game, I was disappointed that Griquas couldn't pull through on the win, but obviously the plus was good. And then, the Bulls game, Western Province nowhere there, and Bulls easily covering there. So, it was a good weekend for me. I had strong fancies last weekend, and this weekend not as strong, but we'll go through it.
Yeah, well, welcome to the boys in the live chat. Wager Warlock, and of course, the rugger bugger himself, Sean Nicholas, coming in there. Aussie. And it certainly was a good win for me. I mean, I had quite a bit more riding on it than I have had recently. But Hendrik, over the years as punters, I think we've taken many a knock where we felt we got to the end of the game and we said we lost the bet, but we still felt we were on the right track. And in this particular game, I got to say I won the bet and I just took the money and ran because I think New Zealand missed something like their last 4 conversions, and some of them very, very kickable as well. I mean, I was on the 21.5 for small and bigger on the 20.5. I know you had the 21.5, but, a couple more of those kicks go over and we're in big trouble.
Yeah, I also had, in the end, I had a few multiples ending on 17.5, so I just scraped through on that. So all those missed conversions really came through for me and for you in the end, and probably a lot of other punters as well. And then the overs on Aussie points that came through after they couldn't score in the first half. So it was a nice end to everyone on Australia. And like you said, we have had so many bad beats over the years. So when it comes your way, you certainly take it. And was the bookie's turn this time.
And someone else coming in and talking about extraditing Gary Gold back to South Africa. I didn't follow too closely, Henrik, but I gather that's got something to do with the USA-Canada match that took place last weekend.
Yeah, that was a shocker. The money really came for USA. I think they opened about 10.5, and at match time it was around 16.5. They were favourites in Canada, and they were hammered. I couldn't watch the game. I searched for a stream, but I couldn't get a stream. I'm not sure what happened there. I've never been a fan of Gary Gold, but he's done all right with the US, and they ran England close in the middle of the year. So this weekend they play in USA against Canada again. So I checked this afternoon. I didn't see any betting yet for that one. It'll be interesting to see how they go this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that one. Hopefully, Couch will be joining us in his Shark shirt soon to talk a bit of Super Rugby. But just a quick word, Henrik, on next weekend. Because, the last couple of weekends we've had to really make do with minimal rugby. There's been some good quality, but pretty minimal. But I think next weekend, the NPC, all going well, will be back. And we've got the Premiership starting as well. I'm not too sure. When does the I guess I would call it the Old Pro 14 or Rainbow Cup. I don't know what they're calling it now for the South Africans. They must also be on the horizon pretty soon.
Yeah, now you caught me with that name as well. Somebody will probably tell us on the comments now. I think that is in about 2 weeks' time that starts. It's not next weekend, the weekend after that. That starts. It's a URC or something like that, if I remember correctly. Next weekend it's the Premiership. I don't know enough the Premiership. I don't follow it closely enough, probably, and I don't watch enough of it. So, but like I said before as well, I try to follow people that I know who follows it and knows better more than me. If I like puntering, then obviously the NPC. I'm a big fan of the NPC. I do quite well on it, so I follow it closely, and I I spend a bit of cash on that, and I make a bit of cash on it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the NPC starting again.
Yeah, just Joe Lyons coming in there saying Geordie Barrett's signed Las Vegas can team. Of course, big controversy this week. The red card rescinded, and we won't go into that debate here. My personal view is that, not that it was intentional, but my personal view is that is a red card, and they've got to somehow, yeah, that's probably as dangerous as taking someone out in the air, quite frankly, and quite often that's accidental as well. But anyways, boys, let's get cracking onto the games. And Hendrik, let me bring up the first handicap for you. We got the Bulls against the Sharks. Now, I popped on. Let me first of all bring the... Okay, no, that's the championship betting I got. So let me bring the Bulls Sharks handicap up here. Now, I know that you can get 11.5 still on the Bulls. You can get, well, on the Sharks, you can get plus 11.5. I got this with player bets just before the show, and I see the handicap here into 9.5. Now, there was a bit of movement on this cap, and before I even talk about that movement, I just want to look what I capped this game. I think I capped it at 10, I capped it at 10.5. So it's very much where I capped it. But there was a definite movement towards the Bulls, and then the big news broke, of course, that Goosen's not played. And that, to me, seems to have triggered a little bit of movement in the Sharks' favour.
Yeah, I think this opened at about 10.5 and then moved to 12.5, and now it's coming back slowly. And like you said, the Goosen news is big. He's been great for the Bulls. He's been a real general. He's kicking well, and his passing game especially has been very good. His distribution game. So that is a big loss. And every time Chris Smith has come on for the Bulls in place of Goosen, he's made basic mistakes like not kicking the ball out, kicking the ball dead. And I'm not a fan, unfortunately, of Chris Smith. And yeah, if Goosen was playing here, if the Bulls had a full squad to pick from, I would have been strong on the Bulls here. On the minus, I would have liked the minus here. I don't really rate the Sharks' chances with Noamba at 9. For me, in a tight game like this should be, he falls away. He's good in a loose game where he can run, but when he needs to kick tactically and his passing game needs to be on the money, he falls away a bit. So I think the Sharks might struggle there, but this is a tough one for me, Brent. I'm probably not going to get involved in the handicap here. I see as money for the Sharks, and you'd think the plus should be the way to go. But yeah, the Bulls, they've got a great coach in Jake White, and they have been the dominant team in this competition. And the Sharks have altitude against them as well here with the game being played in Pretoria. I will be looking at points here, and I'm going to ask you what you think the points will be here, because we've got Marius for the Westhuizen on the whistle. He's Marius, the ultimate overs ref, and it's perfect conditions in Pretoria. So I'm hoping for a low line here, but yeah, what do you
Interesting,
think?
It's a final. How the bookie's going to price up on this one? I'm actually going to go. I think the bookie's going to come in at 55.5, Henrik.
That's high. I was hoping for 50, around about 50. So 55.5 in the final, even with Marius, I'm going to be hesitant. I'm not going to say don't take the overs. I'm definitely not going to take the unders in a game like this with Marius and with being played at Loftus. Yeah, if I could have had something like 50, 51.5, I would have taken the overs. But yeah, if you're correct and it's 55.5, I'll probably stay out, and yeah, I'll stay out of tries as well. If you can get an overs on a penalty scored, maybe that would be a better one, because you'd expect the teams to take the 3 pointers in a final. If you can get over 6 penalties or something like that, that might be a bit of play. But I've got no strong feeling on this game, Brent. Yeah, just
interesting. I guess the interesting thing now is to see what the bookies make of it. Maybe they will price up at 50.5. I tell you what, I was sort of factoring it. I was thinking if this game is in Durban, I might be going 50.5. And I think the bookies have just taken such a pounding on the overs in this. But let's welcome someone back here, and that's I'm just going to take the banner down so we can see what he's calling himself for this show. It's Sharky, Couch Critic. Welcome, mate.
Hi guys, good to be here.
Excellent. How was the Los Jamal?
Yeah, I had to fight for my boys. I was a bit outnumbered. That's why I went all black for the show. I had to keep it going. So I'll just tow it through into this one.
Excellent. Well, we'll get you cracking straight away because Henrik and I have chatted a bit about the final. He's, I think both of us are a little bit undecided on this one. I wanted to throw in there, Henrik, that this might be a game for the 1-12 margin, something like a Bulls 1-12 at 16-10. But Kutch, I gather on Twitter that you're fancying the Sharks might be able to pull something off here.
Brent, I saw early doors, and I think Heinrich was on it as well. It started +10, and he said it was way too short, and it went out to +12.5. And I was thinking to myself, I hope everyone just keeps piling in, because at 14.5, it would have been a steal. I would have been all over that. And yeah, it looks like it's gone the other way. I've seen you've got a 9.5. I've still seen a
there's still 11.5 out there.
Yeah, there's still 11.5. So I'm probably still leading that way. I think 10 points. I know you guys are going to say it's a final, it can blow out. I've heard this conversation before, but I just think it's going to be a bit more tactical. I have a feeling the Sharks are going to be more of a tactical side. You know, they aren't just going to throw it around from pillar to post. They're going to be a little bit more tactical about it. And yeah, they might lose the 1-12 on the Bulls is probably the best call on this one.
Yeah, I must say, I'm like Henrik, I'll be looking at points there. I do fancy that 1-12, but if pushed on the handicap, I must say, I fancy the Sharks team a bit, and I just feel the Sharks have got, I know they've taken a clap not that long ago from the Bulls, but they also beat them in Durban. I just think the Sharks have got maybe the team to disrupt the Bulls a bit. Henrik, anything else for you on that one?
Yeah, I just want to ask Guy 9. Surely you have to be concerned with the number at 9, and you've got a 9 on the bench that making his debut. Because Namba in the close games, he's fallen away badly.
Yeah, Henrik, you've got to be concerned. But I think the one I'm taking from it, Thomas du Toit coming back at tight head, I mean, that's massive for them. Obviously, international, he's probably been proven to not quite be up to the best of standards, but locally, he's going to do a heck of a lot. I just don't see the Bulls, messing with that Sharks pack. You've got Leroux Roots in there. German Grobler has been a massive acquisition for the Sharks. So to me, that tight five is solid. And that's not something you could have said about the Sharks all too often of late. And I think they've pretty much got that down. Kieran van Vuuren, again, same story to me. He's a solid Currie Cup performer. He's pretty decent at line-out time. Again, I'm not sure you can say exactly the same about the Bulls. You know, Erasmus is there and thereabouts, but not brilliant. And Jan-Hendrik Wessel's fantastic ball in hand, but I actually fancy him coming on the bench and struggling in the lineouts, which is going to be good for Sharks backers. So to me, the faith there is in the Sharks tight five. Again, concerned on the loose forwards of the Bulls. They're dynamic. And the scrum off, and then obviously the news around Goosen. Even though I've heard tonight that it might be a bit of a concern that the Bulls haven't officially said anything about Goosen, so that's not ideal. That's not ideal. But if he is out, then again leaning Sharks. Centers Marius Louw van der Kok. I mean, again, dynamic and active if they can stay on the park and not be bloody ill-disciplined. But ball in hand, they're pretty decent. And back three as well, obviously a little bit small. I think Chris Smith will change the game. He'll kick on the Sharks, which might be a bit of a worry. But ball in hand, Takir Abraham, Spence and Cohen, they can do some damage. And Cohen off the tee, I probably fancy more than Chris Smith.
There might be a few PCR tests tomorrow morning at Loftus, and we might see headlines. Goosen tested positively, had a false positive early in the week or something like that, eh?
Alternatively, 7 other Bulls also out the game, so we have to see which way goes.
I was going to say, Brent, the biggest thing to me is how in the hell every time we've had positive cases, half the team has been out. Obviously, Johan Goosen stays in Bloem the whole week and just comes in for the weekend, it seems.
It must be something like that, because that's what I was also thinking. It's strange. So I want to touch on Bosch for a while, because, yes, Bosch, I remember I can't remember which tournament it was. You know, we played so many, we were going through that patch, we played all those local tournaments, but where the Bulls and Sharks played in the final, and I think they drew the game and then went to extra time, and I think the Bulls won or something. But Bosch had a bit of an off day with the tee. But Couch, are we going to be looking for Bosch to bang over a few kicks from his own 10-meter line?
No doubt, Brent. They're just going to take polls. And again, I mean, even being timed out mentally, he just goes walkabout a little bit, I think. And it happens to those guys that are just, Damian Willems, that kind of thing. They extremely talented, and it's almost like it catches up to them at times. But I think he's going to slot them. He's got a heck of a range, and even kicking out of hand, just having someone that takes you from your own 22 to out of your half, it makes a big difference. Chris Smith, again, not exactly the same power boot that Johan Goosen has either. So exit strategy is much better for the Sharks with Bosch. Lionel Cronje, he's got a little bit more of the tactical little kicks. I actually hope he puts it away a little bit because sometimes he gets overly fancy. But no, I'm backing Bosch. I don't think he's, everyone says mentally he's not quite as tough, but I haven't really seen him miss point blank kind of shots under pressure or anything. To me, he's a decent kicker. He's got a solid rhythm and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and I certainly like him at fullback as well. And, Bosch, I certainly have my doubts as to whether he'll ever step up to the international level again. But he is the sort of player where if he gets his boots singing, I mean, he has got such distance on it. But, Henrik, I want to come to you quickly because last week, I can't remember the one. I think it was the Griquas Sharks game. But it could also have been the other game. You got on over 5 penalties at a fairly shortage price, like 30 to 20 or something, if I remember correctly. But the point is, it absolutely coasted home. Which game was that? And is that going to be a runner again this time? Because I certainly think it will.
That was the Durban game, Brent, and I expected a physical game there, and that's why I like that one. And I think if it's in that range again, if it's 6 or even 7, you can go over it. I expect both teams to take the points when it comes because it's a final. So if you can get any lines 6 or 7 on a penalty scored, I'll take the overs here. And like you guys said, Bosch will try the long range ones. So I think he will be in that. That's a solid play.
Final question for you.
Just on the flow of the game, I mean, we saw the 2 semi-finals were completely different. We didn't see anything different from the Bulls or Province in terms of it being a semi-final. They just played a normal game. I think I highlighted it as well. The Bulls have conceded on average 30 points in the last 5 games. Do you think it's just going to be a complete turnaround, or do you still expect them to, or do you think they could still play some attacking rugby? Obviously, Goosen might make a difference to that, but still try and just hit the Sharks early with a couple of tries and ask them to play catch up.
Yeah, I think, my reason for expecting a tighter game last weekend in Durban was because Griquas are so physical. And these two teams, that in my opinion, they're not that physical, and they play a bit of a more expansive game, especially the Bulls. And like you say, they've leaked badly. And Marius is on the whistle, and it's perfect conditions in Pretoria. So I think there might be points. Me and Brent, just before you came on, we spoke about the line here, and I was hoping for around about 50. Brent said he thinks he will be closer to 55 or higher, actually. So I think both teams will play positive rugby, especially with the Sharks 9 and 10 as well. They're attacking players. So even if Chris Smith is the 10 as well, I think both teams will still play attacking rugby. But then again, it is a final, so the players will have that in the back of their minds. Might have a bit of mindset. You don't want to make mistakes and cost your team the final. So that's the only concern for me. Otherwise, I think they will have a positive mindset, but they will also want to play it a bit safe. So it's a tough one for me, but that's how I feel about it. I probably didn't help any there.
But Couch, I was going to ask you. In fact, you led me. Our minds were thinking like that. Henrik and I were saying what we thought the points might be. Where do you think the bookies are going to come out with this line?
Well, Brent, I mean, I'm completely confused. I think I have an idea how I think the game will go in terms of result, but I'm very conflicted in terms of how I see it playing out, and that's usually a big part of my betting strategy. Is do I see it being tight and a tactical chess kind of affair, and I don't think we've seen that in this entire Currie Cup, and it's almost like I don't see these players all of a sudden changing their whole ethos and mindset, and all of a sudden being a test team. It's Jake White, who is that type of coach, hasn't been able to do that with this Bulls crop of players. He's almost just said, listen, just play it as you like. And senior guys like Lionel Mapu enjoy throwing it around. So it's difficult just seeing them all of a sudden saying, let's turn this around and just kick it into the corners. And, I don't see that kind of turnaround. So it's probably going to be points. I agree with Handicap there. I think you got to lean on points. The only one I have a concern a little bit is, and it might come into the penalties as well, if a team like the Bulls do take that early lead and get up 17 zip, which includes 2 tries, then all of a sudden you take the penalties away from the Sharks, and it's they got to push for a try, and all of a sudden you got a bit of a a bugger up both on points and on penalties. So I think that's the only downside concern on that kind of result.
Right, well, we'll wait with interest for the points lines there. I did have a good look around. Unfortunately, nothing yet. We'll probably get something about, if we're lucky, 24 hours before kickoff. Let's move into the Rugby Championship. And then I've got the outright betting scrolling down below. New Zealand have shortened after their victory against Australia. Couch, I'm going to start with you here. First of all, I mean, I must look a lot grayer than I did last week, because I may have got out of not wearing my shirt on the show, because the handicap actually moved from 20.5 to 14.5, I think, by kickoff in some places. But my word, those Australians made hard work with the handicap. Very, very, very fortunate to get up there. Where were you in that? Where was your money in the game?
Yeah, I think a little bit more fortunately, I was on the extended cap, so always in the lower 20s. But I must say that wasn't even safe. You know, you were thinking the way it was almost the case of every time the Aussies had ball in hand, I was like, oh crap, it's a Kiwi try coming up. It's like just give them the ball or something out of set play, because off those turnovers, they just absolutely killed them. You know, it was Australia running into the 22, New Zealand turning over, and it's try time. And yeah, it was an insane way for the game to go. But great last try there to save us all. And yeah, it just makes this one tough, because I mean, I think we all think back to the Argentine team that we know and we've come to love, and Pablo Matera and those guys, and we'll be climbing into a plus and saying Argentina all the way. And we all know the love we've got for Foster and the All Blacks at the moment, so it's plus. But then, yeah, they weren't great. The Argentines aren't the same team, it doesn't look like at the moment. So I don't know if they can turn that around. And the All Blacks show that they can cover this handicap pretty much in the second half of rugby. So yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not getting involved in a plus. That's for sure. I might be convinced to take a slightly less minus into a few casts, but I haven't seen the team yet, so I'll decide as soon as I see some team news, Brent.
Excellent. Let's go to Henrik on this one. Now, Henrik, I mean, I agree with what Couch said then. Yeah, I've often opposed New Zealand, and I know you have as well, and you've done it quite successfully. But hell, you could never relax. And I actually thought that was one of New Zealand's better performances under Foster since he started coaching. I thought they were certainly clinical on the counter attack. And yeah, you're nervous. This handicap, I actually set it on the good for the game for him, 23.5. It's exactly where I set it. I'm struggling to find value.
Yeah, Brent, New Zealand were very impressive, especially in the first half on defense. They put Australia under immense pressure, and it's like you said now, it's the best performance you've seen them under Foster, and I have to agree with that, especially in the first half. Strangely, when they just scored 2 tries, they were more impressive in the first half than in the second half when they scored all those tries. And yeah, in my opinion, Australia made them look a bit better than they probably were in the second half with those intercepts and that stuff. Australia just playing brain dead rugby, stupid rugby. So like you know, for me at the moment, New Zealand, it's either oppose New Zealand or not bet on the game. So I'm not going to take the minus on New Zealand. I'm not sure what to expect from either of these two teams in this game. Argentina were really disappointing against the Boks after doing well against Wales early in the mid year internationals. So yeah, and New Zealand, I'm just concerned if you like the minus here, that they might be but maybe not take this game as seriously as they would against the Boks or Australia. And Argentina might be up for this one. I'm not sure. This is a tough one, and yeah, we also have to see what Team New Zealand, what they will pick here, and maybe they might rest 1 or 2 players. Not that's normally a problem for them because they've got so many talented players. On the handicap, I'm going to stay out here, Brent, and don't even ask me on the points either because I'm unsure there as well. This is a really, really tough one for me. If I'm pushed, I'll probably go for the plus on Argentina. But yeah, I've got no money down in this game yet, and I'll probably 5 minutes before the game put something down just to have an interest if I do.
Yeah, I see Brendan O'Connell on Twitter said he actually fancies the plus. He thinks Argentina can go close to winning it. Gee, I don't know about that. Couch, what do you think?
Brent, I think the one thing of the the 3-try difference is quite a big one. Is I think that's always going to play a little bit in the favor of a minus handicap. At least you get that foot off the pedal kind of thing. And I think in a shorter format like the Rugby Champs, I think the All Blacks are very well aware that it could come down to like a bonus point scenario, and they've got one in hand against the Box at the moment, and they'll try and make sure, especially against Argentina, that they get them in the bank. So that usually does help the handicap out a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually going to make that point as well, Kat. You and I are definitely singing from the same hymn sheet tonight. I think that 3 tries difference does make such a difference, because you can't generally afford to let the team back into the game like you might once you've scored your 4 tries and you just step off like in the Currie Cup type of thing. So, yeah, interesting. I'm 23.5 well set. That's where I set it. I'm also probably going to wait for the points lines and have a look. Let's see that. I think the big game from a South African supporter's point of view, at any rate, whoops, I'm bringing up the wrong game there, is South Africa up against Australia. And here I think the cap opened at 7.5. I actually capped this at 7.5. Opened sort of, I think, 8.5, and it's gradually gone out. There is some 11.5 Australia, I think, if you shop around. And possibly you might get some 9.5 South Africa. I'm not too sure. But let's start with you, Henrik, on this one. I know you rate the South African team. They've obviously named a very strong outfit. Can Australia live with them?
No, Brent, you know what to expect from the Box. You know you're going to get a strong team with how Russia and Ninover has built over the past past 3 years probably. They've built a great squad. The Box deserve being number 1 in the world. You know what game plan you're going to get from them as well. They're going to smother you. They're going to put you under immense pressure. Australia didn't cope well with the pressure New Zealand put on them. I'm uncertain here as well, again, because the Box have a very poor record in Australia recently. I think it's like something like the last 5 games they've lost. And this is a big cap for a away team in the Rugby Championship, 10.5. So I like the Box, and I kind of like Australia on the plus here maybe again, but it's just the way Australia played. You can't take big bets on them. But then again, the thing is with the Box defense, you can't see Australia really scoring a lot of points. So I'm going to stay out of the handicap here. I think the play here will be unders on points. I think it will be a tight one. Both teams desperate to get the win. The Box not conceding many points. I'm not sure where the points will be. Probably about 45 to 47 in that range.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And I like unders on that, and then unders under 5.5 tries on total tries as well. It will probably be 5.5 tries. So yeah, unders for me on this game. That's probably my fancy in this game.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see where the points lines come out. Most guys leaning in the chat towards the fact that South African defence is going to stay strong. It's hard to argue that based on the stats, Couch, because they haven't conceded many tries at all.
Yeah, I'm with Heinrich and the Warlock there. It's just the points lines, I think, is the most confident one. Yeah, I think again that's where the Box are probably they need to beat the All Blacks twice to win this Rugby Champs, because the Wallabies the All Blacks walked away with bonus points against the Aussies, and I think it's going to be tougher for us. We're not the type of team that score tries easily. We almost need the opposition to really come at us, and then that gives us. It's almost like a soccer team. You need a team playing an attacking game for us to hit them on the counter. If they also play a defensive game, it's a bit of a ball fest. And coming out of this weekend, you just have a feeling that the Aussies are going to rein it in a little bit. They got badly burnt this past weekend trying to play an expansive game. I still think, to be honest, it's probably their only hope. I think Rennie hasn't got it too far wrong. He just doesn't quite have the quality to pull it off. And if he can just stick with it and find the right guys, it's probably the way to go for them. But against the Box, we saw it against the Lions. It's so tough deciding, do you run at the Box and try and beat them at a completely opposite type of game, or do you try and beat them at their own game? And I think we all know you can't really beat the Box at their own game, especially not if you're Aussie and don't have a pack of forwards. But no, I think at 7.5, it would have been all over the minus. Currently, it's starting to become difficult. Points is the way to go. I agree with Heinrich, especially on tries. again, I don't see the Boks like winning this 4-3 or something like that. It's going to be a bit of an arm wrestle, and especially again, we've probably not played with this team for a while. A couple of guys coming back, like playing from Milan. It might take us a little while to get back to our best, but we'll keep them away from the line. So unders on points and tries. If you feel a little bit more fancy, unders on Oz. But I think the total is probably the way to go.
So I'm going to throw things out here a little bit. I actually look. I do like Australia a little bit on the plus. I do think it's going to be fairly tight, but I think we're going to see Australia cross the line, and I think we're going to get 2 tries from Australia. Now, the line I'm expecting for Australia to be set at 1.5 tries. And if it is set at 1.5 and I can get anywhere around 9 to 10, I'm going Australia. I just feel Australia, they have got the sort of side that can score tries against virtually anybody. They're also likely to turn the ball over and concede. So yeah, I'm actually leaning. I'm going to be looking for an Australia overs try bet here, which means I could be alone because I will obviously be fighting recent set. But I look at that Australia side. I think they showed me a lot on attack against New Zealand. Unfortunately, they gave the ball away quite a bit, and I think they're going to get a couple of tries against the Boks. I think they're going to surprise us a little bit. But yeah, someone else just pointing out that South African defense is probably the only sure thing in this tournament. Couch, we don't have any teams yet, but you got any thoughts on try scorers who might get the first one?
Oh, in brilliant Brent Graham fashion, he absolutely calls the opposite of what everyone's saying. Fantastic, mate. Boks, I think you said in the intro almost like the Boks haven't conceded more than 2 tries in the past 10 tests, and you're banking on Aussie getting over 1.5. It's ballsy. But anyway, the try scorers. Let me just go back quickly. It's in the Bulls. I'll probably look at someone like Marshall Coetzee getting over the line first as well. He gets quite close to the maul. Jan-Hendrik Wessels as a last try scorer, always a decent option. Moving up to the Bok game, when I go against tries, I don't really like going for try scorers. For you, who's in love with the Aussies, back McDermott, back the scrummy. He's lively around the fringes. I won't back a forward because they're not getting through. Dwayne from Milan and the boys there. Or go out the back. That's about it on the try scorers for me. Boks, it's very difficult unless you're probably taking a driving maul. Check the team, Bongi and Benambi, Malcolm Marx, and that's about as far as you need to go.
Right, well, we're going to get into the best bets now, but definitely seems like the sentiment in the live chat is for the Boks to keep their defense tight. Anything else for you, Henrik, on that before we go into the best bets? I mean, there is some top 14 action, but I know we don't have team news yet, and I know neither of you guys are massive followers of the top 14.
Brent, only thing I want to say on the Bok game as well, it seems you haven't learned on Australia, and I can see you aging another 5 years. On that.
I say I get my 2 tries before halftime. How's that?
Wow. Gee, that's a bold call, eh? I'll be topless on next week's show if that happens, I reckon. Because that's a really bold call against the Boks, conceding 2 tries in 1 half. I'd be surprised. But no, I'm not going to get involved in the top 14. I know absolutely nothing about that, Brent. So yeah, I'm going to focus on the 2 Rugby Championship games and the Currie Cup final.
Just Sean Nicholas coming in and saying Brent's going to be 90 by the end of the Rugby Championship. Sean, I think you're right. Guys, we're going to let's just actually bring up someone else's puncher, because I was hoping someone in the live chat would come up with a couple of potential top 14s. Leon +4 away to La Rochelle, +11. To Pau. La Rochelle +11 away to Racing Leon, and to Racing Leon will win outright. Sorry, I'm not very good at reading. La Rochelle more probably. Racing 92 will keep it close. So there's a few top 14 bets for you. Guys, before we get into our best bets, I'm going to indulge myself here. So my son has finally played some rugby again and played a game today, and I've got to bring this up. He scored a bit of a belter of a try. Sharky's disappeared. He doesn't want to watch my son score a try. He's come back. So let me just bring this in. Yeah, I enjoyed this one, guys. We didn't have the best. We played well. We didn't win the game, as you'll see from the scoreline, but he actually had a pretty good game, and then he scored this try right near the end. So I have to bring it up.
Eindelijk uitgepas. Goeie lyn daar van nummer 12. Maar hy is reg deur die lyn. Ons kyk wat maak hy. I'm say I back myself en ek hardloop na die kop, na die bal. En hy plaas die bal agter die lyn.
Whoops, that is to get my mouse going. So anyway,
Oh,
that was
well,
Thank goodness he doesn't have Dad's running style.
no, he's totally the opposite of me. I mean, I started as a tight forward and then I became an eighth man, but he's very much a backline player, but a very physical player. He gets pretty angry during the game. But anyway, it was certainly, I was shouting at the TV like you couldn't believe. And I was saying to Henrik before the game, look, nothing good has come of COVID, but I tell you one thing, the little bit of sport the kids have played, at least it's been streamed. Because, I never would have been able to. They play all the way out quite in Pretoria for these 3 weeks, and there's no ways I would have been able to watch it. But let's see if there's anything else there. Boy's got wheels, just like his dad, Sean, just like his dad. Wager Warlock, Montpellier minus 12.5. And someone else, Proud Dad, definitely really enjoyed that one. Okay, gents, let's get on to the best bets. I appreciate we don't have all the markets that we would maybe want to for the best bets now. But Couch, where are you leaning at this point? And even if you suggest that at a certain points line, that would be your best bet for the weekend.
Yeah, it's just the Maltese. I'm gonna have a look at something additional or on the Sharks plus. Throw it into something on New Zealand minus. So probably New Zealand minus 17.5 or somewhere around there, and Sharks plus 17.5, probably going to get 15.5, and that should get you close to even money. And then definitely waiting for points, but possibly I'm going to go against Brent Graham. They're probably unders total match tries. I think Hendrik said he was expecting 5.5. Maybe if I can get 5.5, I'll be unders on 5.5 tries. Hopefully that'll be a 9 to 10 bet and not something like 6 to 10. So I'll probably like that in the Aussie game.
But you already know that Aussie are going to get 2, eh? So you've got to bear that in mind.
So obviously the box are only getting 3, Brent?
No, excellent. We'll bring Henrik in now. What do you think, Henrik? What are you leaning towards? I know it's neither you or I are particularly strong this weekend.
Yeah, Brent, great try by Rob there. He's got some wheels there. So yeah, congratulations. I've got, before I get to my best bet, two value bets, and you kind of led me into this. I didn't think of this, but I think Bulls by 1 to 12 is you're getting decent value, and then also the box by 1 to 12. I reckon that's pretty good value as well. I see everybody fancying the Australia the box on the minus. I think I'm unsure on this one, and I think the box might just scrape it, and you're getting a good price going on the 1 to 12. And then your best bet, I'm with Hein on the unders. I think unders in the box game. I'm going against you, Brent. I think unders on points and unders on tries. And on that box game, that's my best bet.
I must say, you went against me last week on only one of the games, and you got 3 out of 3, and I got 2 out of 3 with the Griquas game. So I'm pretty wary about that. Let's just bring someone else's best bet up here. USA to thrash Canada, named the best side, and Gary Gold, job on the line, 20th anniversary of 9/11. Lots of reasons why I like USA big. And Henrik, just quickly, that often happens. Last week everyone fancied the USA. They were away in Canada. They didn't. Well, I think they were away in Canada. They didn't get the job done. And probably because of that, we're going to get a better line this weekend, and they could come out and absolutely hammer the Canadians.
Yeah, the only problem is Gary Gold there, but other than that, they'll probably come back and, like you said, hammer them. It's going to be interesting. I expect the line to be close to where it was last weekend. So yeah, after if New Zealand got the job done last week, USA got the job done, it would probably have been bigger, but yeah, it'll probably be in that 10-point range as well. And yeah, it might be probably the right call to go USA. Yeah, I'm uncertain after last week. Gee, didn't see that one coming. I was on the US minus as well. Not as big as on the other games, but yeah, I'm wary now after that game last week. But yeah, I hear you.
Right. Well, my best bet, I haven't decided on it yet. Will I have the guts to go with Australia over 1.5 tries? You'll have to subscribe to the newsletter to see. We've on a pretty good run. We hit the Bulls minus last week. And, of course, the week before, we'd gone big on Australia plus 20.5. I did describe earlier how relieved I was for that one. So subscribe to our newsletter there, and we'll see which way to go. And, yes, by all means, if you wake up on Sunday, well, it's not wake up. I think it's 12 o'clock on Sunday. But if you see Australia have got their 2 tries before halftime, then don't miss next week's show, because we'll have our first guest confirmed. Henrik Swart will be joining us without a shirt next week. But I do agree with you, Henrik. I think the chances of that are fairly slim. First of all, thanks to all the guys in the live chat. Always great having your contributions. Boys, next week we've got an absolutely massive show. We're going to have to talk pretty quickly. Otherwise, we're going to be going on for 2 hours. There's so much rugby to chat about. And then to my guests, and let's start off with Henrik. Henrik, great having you on. And yeah, look forward to the weekend and some big winning punts.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. My advice for this weekend would be not to get too involved. There's lots of games next weekend, so there will be more opportunities. Enjoy the rugby this weekend. Have a bit of a punt, but don't get too involved, in my opinion.
Excellent. Couch, you have a good weekend as well. I saw some tweet you made about the fact that you always dreamed of marrying Pamela Anderson, and so I don't know what you're up to there, but have a cracking weekend.
All about intent, Brent. I intended doing that, but it didn't happen. Almost like Geordie Barrett. But listen, I'm with Hendrik there. I think the important thing, and we've all learned that, let's do a little bit of an oracle on a tutorial on punting, and that's don't go big if you're not really confident. And I think you can hear from pretty much all of us there that we're not extremely confident on something. So don't bet Brendan Vessel's farm, and don't bet Oracle's granny's pension. So it's just enjoy it. Buy a Sharks jersey at Mr. Price to support the game.
Excellent. Gentlemen, all the viewers, enjoy your weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday, for the Handicap Rugby Chat.